This or that model comes with fully adjustable front and rear suspension and whatever millimeters of suspension travel, and it will be perfect for your next adventures. I'm sure that you have heard this before, but it is nothing more than a perfect sales pitch that usually does not correspond with the reality. In this video, I'm gonna tell you why. So if you have nothing to do, grab your favorite drink and stay with me. Welcome back. This video is not going to be some kind of rant against a specific brand and model. No, absolutely not. The motorcycles that I'm going to show you will be there just with one purpose: to have an idea about the whole manipulation process. Manufacturers know very well that every customer will like to receive as maximum as possible for the lowest possible price, right? So they know this very well and they use this human behavior in their favor. But we cannot really blame them because the demand dictates the supply, right? I have a question. How many of you will know the difference between a really good off-road oriented suspension and the one that you have on your motorcycle as a stock? I can guess that from all the people that are going to watch this video in the next few months, there will be no more than 5 or maximum 10 people that will be able to explain the difference in detail. Even so, the rest will be caught in this manipulation game and they will spend whatever amount of extra money for something that they don't need and they don't understand. Just because they have heard or they watched on YouTube some people talking and using some clever phrases like fully adjustable suspension. Here, of course, I expect some of you to say, Pavlin, listen, I know very well what is compression, rebound and preload, and I already have done these adjustments on my motorcycle. Fair enough, but can you please tell me what is the difference after you have done it? Can you please explain to me with more details? What exactly, how does it work and how all of this helps you to ride your motorcycle in more comfort and maybe stability? Well, I'm here to disappoint you again and tell you that before you change the springs in your forks and the spring on your shock absorber with exactly the one that matched to your weight and the weight of your luggage, the effect is not going to be what you need. You can play all day around with all of these clicks, compression, rebound and preload, but you're not gonna have the effect that you need. Let me repeat it once again. The difference is going to be so little that only a few people will be able even to feel it. And these will be people who has a lot of experience, they understand very well how modern suspension works, the whole concept, and they probably have got a lot of experience with many different motorcycles and different suspensions, and they know exactly what to look for. For the rest, as I said, they won't even feel it. Unfortunately, 95% of all possible future riders will follow the trend and will buy something that someone said or show in the videos. But the reality is that only a few models that are sell on this adventure market today coming as a stock with a good suspension. Pay attention on the words, I said good, not great suspension. These are KTM 890 Adventure R, which by the way has WP 48mm fully adjustable suspension, Husqvarna 701 Enduro, the same, 901 Norden, the same, but only Expedition version. The other versions of 901 Norden are come with different suspension. AGP PR7 and a few more, but the rest of the models comes with nothing more than a simple suspension, more or less like the one that I have on my Tenere, even if it says fully adjustable. Let me show you a few more examples. KTM 890, but standard, not R version, comes with WP Apex forks 43mm, not with 48 as the R version. Tenere 700 comes with 43mm Kayaba forks, Aprilia Touaregs 43mm Kayaba forks, Honda Africa Twin 45mm Showa forks in almost 250 kilograms. I'm talking about Honda Africa Twin Adventure. The first version of Africa Twin, which is with small tank and weight 230 kilograms, is with the same 45mm forks. Suzuki V-Storm 1000 is with 43mm forks on 240 kilograms bike. V-Storm 800DE 43mm on 230 kilograms. The normal version of Husqvarna Norden 901 comes with 43mm forks. I don't care at all if the suspension works and I can ride my motorcycle, you might say, but it is not exactly like that. Suspension is one of the most important components of your motorcycle. When the suspension does not work properly, it cannot give you the necessary stability, comfort and control on your motorcycle. And it is very noticeable when the riding conditions are not perfect, when you have rainy days, bumpy roads or some kind of different riding conditions. So you cannot really say, I don't care at all, because it is for your safety. Also, you need to understand that any stock suspension, even on the best models that I show you, this KTM 890R, Husqvarna 701, Norden, AGP, also is set for an average rider 80 kilograms include the riding gear. So if you're more than that, if you're heavier than 80 kilograms with your riding gear, you definitely need to make some changes. Maybe to change the springs, cartridge if you have money. Otherwise, the suspension is not going to work properly for you. Of course, all of these changes are not necessary, but if you don't do them, you will lose a big part of your suspension travel. Let me give you one example. My Tenere 700 comes with 210 mm suspension travel, and it is set for an average rider 80 kilograms. But I am 105 kilograms. When I have my riding gear, I am 110 kilograms. So when I sit on it, I compress it almost 50%, and I am left with only 10 centimeters suspension travel. From 210, from 21 centimeters, now I'm left only with 10 centimeters. And guess what is happening? When I'm riding on very bad terrains or off-road or some bumps, the suspension cannot cope with my weight. So every time when I have a big jump or one bump after another, every time when I had it, I hit the bottom like bam, bam, bam. And if you hit the bottom a few times or a number of times, what it's gonna do? You're gonna break your suspension. And also, it's not only that you're gonna break your suspension, but when it's not working properly, when it cannot compress and depress properly, you're actually losing control. Your wheels, instead of being every time on the ground as they should be, and the suspension to provide the necessary traction, you lose this traction. And keep in mind that I am a solo rider and I have very minimum luggage. But what will be if you travel with passenger, or if you have a lot of luggage? Then this necessity will be even bigger. That's why it's important to understand all of this and set your motorcycle and suspension correctly. Even though I understand how suspension works, I also try to play with all of these clicks, compression and rebound with the stock suspension. I tried all possible options. But of course, it did not work. I knew that it's not going to work, but I wanted to try. So I decided to change the springs, to buy a spring that match my weight. And after I've done it, everything changed. Before that, I've got very soft springs, but at the same time, very hard ride. Now I have hard springs, but I have soft ride. I know that you're confused, but let me explain to you. Before that, when I have the original stock springs, they were so soft that when I press it, when I sit on it, when I press this 50%, I'm left only with the harder, because the more you compress the springs, the harder they became. So I was left only with the hard ride, and the motorcycle was like this all the time. Now, when I sit on it, I can compress only, let's say, 20% or 30% on it, and I still have some plush ride. Of course, it is not like BMW GS, and it will never be, but it is enough for me to travel in more comfort, stability when I need it. Another good example is the stock suspension of Honda Africa Twin. Adventure or a normal version, it doesn't matter. They have basically the same suspension. So every time when I'm riding behind someone with Africa Twin, I can tell you when exactly he pressed only the front brake and when he used both brakes. Because every time when he pressed the front, it dives so deeply that I can see it. And every time when he jumps over some kind of speed bumps on the road, I can see the rear makes like this, because it's so soft. It's supposed to be like a brick. Bam! That's it on the road. Bam! But it's make like poof, 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 poof. So all this is because the springs are too soft for the weight of the motorcycle and the rider. If you change it, it will be a completely different story. So why I'm telling you all of this? What is the purpose of this video? To open your eyes and maybe tell you something that you never thought before. To see the weak spots of every motorcycle or every manufacturer from the moment you see it. So now you know, if you want to buy a motorcycle with good suspension, you need to go for something like KTM 890, but R version. Only then you want to have this WP 48 millimeters double cartridge Explore version of this suspension. Maybe is the best that you can have at the moment. Or if you go to AGP PR7, you're gonna have this Marzocchi or Zach suspension 48 millimeters double cartridge. But for the rest, even if it's KTM but not R version, you're gonna have WP suspension 43 millimeters Apex suspension. That is completely different. It's more or less like the suspension, the stock suspension that I have on my Tenere, even though it's KTM. So this manipulation is something that they all use against us. And it is good when you know it. Because next time, when you're about to buy a motorcycle, in a few minutes time or a walk around, you'll know these changes and you'll know these differences. And you can decide to buy it or not. You will also know that suspension is a very important part of any motorcycle. You will know that it should be set properly with the proper springs exactly for your weight, and all of this might help you to avoid some future accidents on the road. And also you need to know always that if you focus only on the suspension, you're gonna miss some more important things, or like reliability, for example. That's why I prefer to have a reliable motorcycle with not so good suspension that I can improve after that, instead of having a motorcycle with great suspension but very poor reliability. I'm not gonna say examples, but you know what I'm talking about. So all of this, the whole concept is to understand everything from the beginning and eventually avoid expensive mistakes. Suspension also has its reliability or not. Let me give you another one example. Last year, a guy came to my garage here with Aprilia Touareg and gave me his motorcycle for test ride. And I did it here around my home. And because I felt suspension very badly, it was bumping actually like a goat very badly, worse than my stock suspension Tenere, we came back to the garage and we spent the next hour and so playing with all of these clicks, include preload. We did everything that I think is gonna help, and we tried the motorcycle. After that, we did everything that he's told that he's gonna help, and we tried the motorcycle again. And the result was the same. The suspension was not good. And when I said this in the video,
changing the gears, gear shifts is very accurate, very smooth, no problems whatsoever, but the suspension is just crap, absolutely crap. I don't know what people like so much about this Aprilia, but the stock suspension is, I'll say, worse than the Tenere. It might be because of the preload that I have done, but I'm gonna try it again with the standard preload. It is just all the bumps are going to the frame, not to the suspension. It is not that it is so bad that you cannot travel with it or you cannot go on the dirt roads. No, it's alright, but it's nothing different than the Tenere stock suspension. I think that it's even worse than the Tenere stock suspension. I don't know why.
all of these Aprilia fans and also many people attack me and said, you know nothing, you compare your already adjusted suspension with the stock suspension of the Aprilia, but even so it's much better. It has these and these features. It has 240 millimeters suspension travel, which it doesn't matter when the springs are not set properly, and all of this stuff. And I said, fair enough, whatever. I still prefer to have my stock suspension on the Tenere compare with the stock suspension on the Aprilia. And I did not even discuss reliability of this model, but guess what? The other day I watched a video on YouTube. A guy, actually I know this guy, Ismo from Finland, he explained the problems with the suspension on Aprilia Touareg that he bought recently. So he explained exactly why the suspension does not work properly, even though it has Kayama forks. Should be like mine, but they're completely different. Because some of the elements inside of the suspension, especially the shims on the bottom, are mounted the other way around. So the suspension does not work properly. It's jumping like a goat, exactly my words. And then I checked again and I found 3-4 more videos for more people explaining about all of these problems on the suspension on Aprilia Touareg. They're even asking for recall now, and because many people complain, to fix these problems. That's why, once again, suspension also has its own reliability, and you shouldn't bet only on this because it's not promised. A really good quality suspension something like WP, Zax, Marzocchi, or any other brand that is set properly for your motorcycle, that has a proper triple clamp and everything, will cost you probably 1/3 of the price of your motorcycle. So it's not really possible for everyone to have it. We can make some changes, like I did change the springs on my motorcycle, and as I said, it's enough for me and my type of trips, but it's not like a proper professional suspension. As I said, it costs a lot. It could be even more than the motorcycle itself. And here you might say again, Pavlin, I don't care at all. Despite all of your efforts, I'm not gonna invest any money in suspension. As I said, it works fine for me and I'm not gonna touch anything. Fair enough, it always amazes me how people are happy to spend thousands of dollars for any kind of stupid so-called adventure accessories, convert their motorcycles like a real Christmas trees, but they never even think about a proper suspension. And believe it or not, but to upgrade your suspension, of course not on professional level, but on very affordable and noticeable level, you will need probably 15% of the money that you already spent to make your motorcycle looks terrible. This is the reality. I know that you're not gonna like it, but this is the reality. But at the end, who am I to tell you what to do? Anyway, I hope that this video will help you at least one person to make the right decisions. So press like or dislike, whatever it deserves. If you subscribe, even better. If you want to learn more about my future trip and all the changes and modifications and preparations that I do at the moment, you can check my other channel, Motorcycle Adventure Travel Videos, that I upload one video per week explaining everything how it's going. On my third channel, Motorcycle Adventures live streams, I do live streams every Sunday for channel members and patrons. If you don't want to become member or patron, you can watch it on Saturday, 1 week later, a little edited version, but it will still have important information. All the links will be in the description down below. See you next time. Ciao.